They said it first on the Marine Weather Band. Just a quick notice that didn't repeat. Elevated sea temperature anomalies detected off both Atlantic and Pacific coasts. Mariners are advised to maintain distance from surface steam activity. Steam activity, that was the phrase. Sounded almost harmless, like maybe the ocean had a fever and this was the early sweat. I didn't think anything of it at first. None of us did. We've had algae blooms, red tides, strange currents before. The sea does what it wants. It moves in ancient moods. We're just tourists on the edge of it. But then the reports started coming in. From people I know, from places I trust. Listeners called in from Savannah, from Galveston, from Monterey, each with the same detail. The tide had pulled out, not receded, not low, gone. In some places, it looked like the ocean had just stood up and walked away. And what it left behind didn't make sense. Whole trawlers beached miles from their coordinates, seabeds exposed like open wounds. And steam, not fog, lifting up in columns, high and wide, hissing like breath. It wasn't until just after 2 a.m. that I stepped outside the station. We're close to the coast here, close enough to smell the salt on most nights. Close enough to hear gulls and buoys and the old rhythm of the tide if you're quiet. But tonight, no gulls, no wind, just the sound of static coming from the sea. I don't mean metaphorical static, I mean real, low, persistent signal noise. I thought someone had left an open mic on in the control room, but the feed was off. The board was cold, and still the sound was there, rolling in on the absence of waves. That's when I saw it. The ocean wasn't glowing, not brightly, but it had changed color. A subtle, heavy blue, deeper than ink, like light couldn't quite climb out of it anymore. And where the water had boiled away, something shimmered. I'm not a scientist. I don't know the words for what I saw. All I can tell you is that the seafloor shouldn't shine. But it did. It caught the moonlight in places and threw it back wrong, bent and angled like mirrors in motion. And then I saw shapes, too large to name. Not ruins, not wreckage. Ribs, data structures, curves of ivory, too symmetrical to be chance. They rose from the deep like foundations, like skeletons big enough to shelter cities inside them. I should have run. Instead, I came back in and turned the mic on, because I figured someone else out there needed to know they weren't the only ones seeing it. And maybe because if I spoke it aloud, it wouldn't feel so real. But it is real. The ocean is boiling, and it's not leaving behind chaos. It's leaving behind design. Someone, something, built beneath the waves, and now that the water's gone, it's waiting for us to look. I haven't left the station since that first night. Something about seeing the ocean peeled back like that. Bones where water should be. Light moving in patterns instead of waves. It changed the way I hear things. Changed the way I wait. There's been no government update, no press conference, not a word from the Navy. Just a wall of silence broken only by the breathless panic of live streams and a few too steady voices from those who still think this is just a climate event. It isn't. The oceans aren't evaporating in chaos, they're retreating with purpose. I've been following the waterline, not in person, but through listeners, through callers, through their voices, through the things they say and the things they don't. It's pulling back evenly, as if by design, coordinated. Left and right coasts, the Gulf, the South China Sea, the North Sea, pieces of the world pulling back like curtain hems, revealing stage underneath. And what's underneath? It's not sand, it's not coral, it's not even ruins, really. It's more like form. Lines in the seafloor that run straight for miles, geometric cuts, plateaus that look too flat, too intentional, caverns shaped like doors, always facing the same direction, as if everything beneath the water was built to point towards something else. One caller, a marine technician out of Norway, said it best. His voice shook on the line. It looks like the sea was covering something up, like a layer of skin. Then he said, and now it's peeling. He sent me photos. I don't know how he got them. Satellite maybe, or high-altitude drone. They showed a section of ocean shelf that had fully emptied out over the past 36 hours. Not dried, not drained, just lowered, exposed. And there, in the middle of it, rising out of cracked stone like a tooth left in ancient gum line, was a spire, 300 feet tall at least, perfectly smooth, pockmarked with holes in regular intervals like it was meant to sing. He said when the wind passed through it, it made sound, not a whistle, not music, sound. Something lower than vibration, something you feel in your chest before you hear it with your ears. He said birds stopped flying near it, said even the waves where they lapped against the new shore seemed to go still when that hum rose up. I asked him what it sounded like. He paused for a long time, then said, like someone breathing, someone big. The line cut before I could ask more. I tried calling back, got nothing, and a few minutes later, that same low hum started coming through my feed. Not from the console, from the window, from the direction of the sea. I stepped outside again, just for a moment, just far enough to listen without glass between me and it. The water was even farther out now, gone past the horizon. The air smelled hot, not burning, but pressurized, like it had more weight than it should, and there was no sound, no wind, no gulls, no movement, just silence. But not empty silence, the kind that waits for your voice to fill it, the kind that makes you feel like you're being listened to. And I swear, for a moment, I felt like if I said the right word into that silence, something would answer. I came back inside, turned the mic off, and just sat. Still, because I don't think the ocean just boiled away. I think it stepped aside. And whatever's underneath, it's not done revealing itself. I haven't slept. Not really. I've closed my eyes a few times. Drifted. But there's something in the silence now. A pattern. A pulse. And once you hear it, it becomes the rhythm your thoughts move to. Even. The quiet has a tempo, and it's matching mine. The ocean's edge has moved again. The nearest water line is now over 60 miles away. The map is changing faster than the satellites can redraw it, but I'm still getting signals. More of them. Not human, not voice exactly. More like friction. A sound that isn't heard so much, as felt, like someone rubbing two worlds together and letting the heat leak through. It's not just static anymore, it's humming. The first to notice were the research teams off what used to be the Great Barrier Reef. They stayed after the boil, stubborn maybe, or curious. The kind of people who'd always thought if the end of the world came, it would start with something quiet. They were right. They sent a message this morning. Not to the government, not to the universities, to us, to this station. Just a single sentence. The coral is humming. I called them back. I wasn't sure they'd answer. I didn't even know if they were alive. But they did. One voice. A woman. Calm. She said the reef had changed color. Not dead, not bleached. More like alive, in a different way. Pinks so bright they looked lit from within. Greens like circuitry. I asked what the hum sounded like. She said, like electricity dreaming. Then she said something stranger. We matched the tone. Played it back through hydrophone. It responded. I asked what she meant. She said, it opened. I asked what opened. She didn't answer, only said, the structure beneath the coral. It's not natural. It's not reef. It's shell. And it's hollow. Then silence. I kept the line open, just in case, but no one came back. I checked the station logs after. Her call never registered. No audio file. No timestamp. Like it bypassed the system entirely. But the hum remained. Still does. Sometimes it gets louder when I'm not talking, like it's waiting for me to stop. Listening. Measuring. And just now, while I was off air, I heard something from the back of the room. A jar of pens rattled. That's all. No wind, no tremor. Just the sound of something responding to the frequency. Like it was close. Like it was remembering how to move. I keep thinking about what she said. That the reef wasn't dead. That it was opening. That the structure beneath wasn't grown. It was built. And I'm starting to wonder if coral wasn't meant to be decoration. If it was a seal, a lock, something organic meant to hide something else. And now, with the water gone, the hum has returned. Like a voice trapped for eons finally cleared its throat. And maybe it's not speaking yet. Maybe it's just listening, waiting for the right voice to match pitch. And I'm scared that voice might be mine. The humming hasn't stopped. It comes in waves now, no pun intended. Low, resonant, pulsing every few minutes like a breath or a heartbeat, slow and deep. Not mechanical, not alive either. Somewhere in between. The longer I sit with it, the more I start to feel it in my own bones, like it's calibrating me. Matching frequency. I've stopped playing music on the station. It's not worth the interference. The hum threads itself into the signal no matter what I broadcast, and some part of me thinks it prefers silence, or maybe it feeds on it. An hour ago, I got a file sent anonymously. No name, no sender, just a clean digital audio link titled Below. I didn't trust it, but I played it. And the sound, it wasn't like the hum I'd been hearing. It was layered, controlled. It had language in it, backwards but clear. A sentence repeated 3 times, then a pause, then again. I ran it through the scrubber, reversed the waveform, slowed it slightly. And there it was. I am not what you buried me to be. The file cut out after that. Then another came. Video this time. A field feed from Chile. Time-stamped just after dawn. A research team moving across the dried ocean floor. Steam drifting like fog. Soft light curling over dark stone. They were walking in a line toward something rising out of the ground. I paused it. Took a screenshot. It was a doorway. Not a metaphor. Not a cave or a chasm. A door. Tall enough to swallow a cathedral. Inlaid with markings I've never seen, like musical notation crossed with geometry. At first I thought they were ornamental, decorative. But when the sun hit them at just the right angle, the patterns moved, shifted, like something on the other side was reacting to light, or sound, or presence. The team approached slowly. One member stepped forward. A woman, young. She pressed her hand to the edge of the structure, and it shimmered. The frame bent inward like the surface was thin. Like it wasn't stone or metal at all, but membrane. And then she said a word. I didn't recognize it. Still don't. But my mic, sitting idle on the console, unpowered, clicked on, just for a second, like the word found its way into the signal, without permission. And in the video, the door didn't open. It folded, collapsed inward with no sound, no debris, just a soft implosion, like a breath taken backwards. And beyond it, not blackness, not flame, just depth. Unmeasurable. I haven't seen the rest of the footage. The file corrupted when the doorway collapsed, but the feed kept recording. Even now, my backup drive keeps logging frames of static, time-stamped every few seconds. Each frame shows the booth from above, but I don't have a ceiling cam, and in the last one, there's a shape standing behind me. Not close, not clear, but watching, waiting. And I don't remember when I started speaking again, or why my mic was already on. All I know is that something has been listening long enough. And now it started, answering. I've stopped checking the news, not because it stopped coming in. It hasn't. In fact, there's more of it now than ever. Live feeds, satellite overlays, international panels packed with experts speaking in careful tones and language too sanitized for what we're actually seeing. But none of them are saying the truth. They're all dancing around it, calling it a geological anomaly, a long-term seismic event. But if you listen closely, really listen, you can hear it in their pauses. They're afraid to say what everyone already knows. The world is moving, and not on its own. We're not just watching the oceans boil away. We're watching the crust rearrange itself. There are fractures appearing where no plates meet, ridges rising where there used to be flatlands. One caller, a retired geologist from Alaska, told me her instruments aren't just picking up tremors, they're picking up pivots, tiny controlled shifts in the Earth's surface, as if the mantle is being rethreaded, stitch by stitch. I asked her what it meant. She said, "It's like the planet is being set into position, like something is assembling a surface it once had, or once planned for." I didn't ask her to explain further, because part of me already knew. The structures under the sea, the bones, the gates, the humming coral, they weren't accidents. They weren't buried. They were placed, positioned, and now that the water is gone, they're waking up and reorienting the ground to fit themselves. I've seen it in the maps. Not the ones you'll find online. Those have started freezing up, glitching subtly, pulling the same images over and over like they're stuck in a loop. But the raw satellite images, the backfeeds from defunct weather satellites, show the real shape. There are ridges now that run in deliberate lines from coast to coast, mountains moving centimeters a day, islands sinking, not from erosion, but from being lowered, as if the whole planet were being corrected, not destroyed. Aligned. I got another transmission earlier today, audio only. Came in from a deep-sea relay that shouldn't be functioning anymore, not since the seabed cracked open beneath it. A garbled voice. Human, maybe. Female. She was reading off coordinates, over and over, the same string of numbers. Her voice, steady, but wrong. Too smooth, too flat, like the breath had been taken out of her lungs and replaced with rhythm. I looked up the coordinates. Somewhere in the mid-Atlantic. Used to be water. Now it's a dry plain of salt glass and petrified coral, and in the center, a ring. Perfectly circular, miles wide. The kind of thing no tectonic plate could accidentally produce, and it's pulsing. Satellites can't see it directly. They just lose feed as they pass overhead. But if you track the paths they take, you can see the pattern. They're being nudged slightly off course. Not by gravity, by choice. By something down there that doesn't want to be seen until it's ready. I've started to feel it in my sleep. The shifts, a low hum beneath the floorboards, dreams where my skin doesn't quite fit, where the sky is just water flipped upside down and the sun isn't ours. And when I wake up, I always think the same thing. We're not watching the ocean disappear, we're watching it make way. For something old, for something meant to return. And whatever it isn't arriving. It's remembering its place. It took me a while to say the word bones without flinching. At first, I thought I was just being dramatic. You see something that vast and skeletal emerging from the sea, and your mind reaches for metaphor. A rib here, a spine there. Maybe it's just rock. Maybe erosion shaped it that way. Maybe. But it's not metaphor. It's not erosion. They're bones, and they weren't left behind. They were built in. A few hours ago, I got a direct stream from someone I trust. used to work with Noah. Back when we still had weather patterns and not. Whatever this is, he'd stayed behind on a deep-sea station off the coast of Madagascar, monitoring tectonic activity, watching the new terrain form in real time. He wasn't supposed to send what? He did, but he did. The footage starts with a camera drone descending into what used to be the Mozambique Channel. Now, it's a dry gorge, miles wide, flanked by cliffs that glow faintly in the dark. Not from heat, from resonance. The drone follows a path downward, tracing grooves in the rock that curve too perfectly to be natural. Not symmetrical, intentional. And then it enters what he calls the spine chamber. That's not scientific. That's just what he named it, because that's what it looks like. A corridor lined with ribs. Not fossilized, not broken, functional. They rise from the stone, like buttresses in a cathedral. Clean curves, smooth as glass, each one humming softly at different frequencies, like they're tuned, like they were meant to carry sound, or power, or something else entirely. The floor is smooth, too smooth, no sediment, no fracture lines, just a dark surface that almost reflects, not like water, but like memory. You look into it, and for a moment you think you recognize what you see, and then you forget what you were looking for. He didn't narrate the footage. Didn't have to. At the end, the drone rises, turns back, and catches a wide shot of the chamber. It's shaped like a heart. Not the Valentine kind. The anatomical kind. Thick walls, open space, tubes, and at the very center, a podium. Empty, waiting. When I asked him what it was for, he only said one thing. It's not dead, just unassembled. That phrase hasn't left me since. It makes sense now. The way the ground moves, the way the air vibrates, the way every doorway opens inward, as if to pull us toward something, not push us away. We're standing on a puzzle, and the pieces are almost in place. And the bones, they're not what's left after something dies. They're the framework for something meant to rise. I don't think we're the inheritors of this planet. I think we were the scaffolding, a temporary layer, a filler. And now, whatever was meant to live here is getting ready to move back in, reattaching its pieces, clearing out what doesn't belong. I haven't seen the sky in 3 nights. It's fogged now, thick and gray, not from storm, but from exhale. The ground is warmer underfoot. The tides haven't returned, but the humming's gotten stronger. And the floor beneath the station? It vibrates when I say certain words into the mic. Not words from now. Words I don't remember learning. Words that echo when I speak them. Words that feel like they've been waiting in my chest for centuries. I won't say them again. Not yet, but I think I know what happens when the right voice finds the right pitch. The bones will stop being still. I thought the bones were the end of it, the deepest layer of what was left behind, or maybe what was waking up. But now I realize they're just part of the design. Structure, yes, but not passive. They're wired for movement, and now, some of them are moving. It started just after midnight. The floor beneath the station, the old foundation that's always been cracked from salt and age, began to pulse. Not shake, not vibrate, pulse, like it was sinking to something deeper. The humming that's haunted the coastline since the boil began has changed. It's no longer a drone. It has rhythm, cadence, and I swear I've heard something underneath it, like a ticking. Something mechanical, distant, but growing. I went out to the cliffs again. Couldn't stay long. The air tastes different now. More like copper than salt. The wind isn't consistent. It moves in circles like it's thinking. But in the distance, where the water line used to be, I saw it. One of the towers. Half submerged for days, its top just barely visible in the fog. Tonight, It rose. Slow, deliberate, groaning like rusted gears made of stone. It didn't float, it climbed, lifted out of the deep on segmented legs, each one spiraling like drill threads. And at its center, light. Not fire. Not electricity. Light. That pulsed like breath. The station picked it up immediately. The frequency spiked. The board flickered. For 5 seconds I lost power, but the feed didn't cut. Somehow, I kept broadcasting into the dark. And when the power returned, the board had recorded a phrase. Not one I spoke. Not in my voice. It simply said, "Signal accepted." No other metadata, just that. And then something stranger. The backup broadcast. Tower, the one we keep offline untouched since Oro 9, activated by itself, its coil lit red. It began transmitting. Something. Not our signal. Something layered beneath it. A pattern. A pulse. A listener emailed me an audio scan from their receiver. They ran it through a spectrogram, and it formed a shape. Not random. Architectural, like blueprints rendered in sound. One section looked like a wheel. Another, a staircase. Another, a heart again. Always that same shape. The deep chamber, the hollow podium at the center. I don't think these machines were built. I think they grew here, and we, humanity, our cities, our maps, we were just planted over top. We've been building highways across a sleeping circuit board. And now, the current is flowing again. I got a call from a man near Jakarta. He said he was standing on one of the exposed trenches when the stone beneath him began to spin. Just slightly, not enough to throw him. Enough to feel. And then it stopped. But when he looked down, he said the floor wasn't stone anymore. It was glass. And beneath the glass he saw movement. He said, it looked like blood, but the veins were made of wire. I asked what he did next. He said, I said, thank you. And then he hung up. No name, no call trace, but I still hear his voice, somewhere in the static, repeating those two words. Thank you. Over and over. Soft. Reverent, like he'd seen the face of something we were never meant to remember, and loved it. And I wonder, how long before we all do? How long before these machines finish spinning, and the thing they were built to wake finally opens its eyes? It would have been comforting to think all of this was contained to the coast, to the bones, the spires, the machines rising from the ocean floor. Easier to tell myself I was just an unlucky witness to something massive but isolated, something that hadn't spread. But that comfort's gone now, because today the inland station started going dark. Not all at once, just enough to notice. Enough to feel the silence spread like frost across a window. The first report came from Kansas. A farmer I've spoken with before. Good man, steady voice, calls in most winters to talk about the stars. He left a message on the emergency line. Said the rain had started acting strange. Not the kind of strange you'd expect. Not acid. Not fire. Clear rain. Cold. But when it hit the ground, things changed. He said the soil shimmered. That plants began leaning toward the drops like they recognized something in it. His words, not mine. It's not water, it's memory. I didn't understand what he meant, still don't. But then a second caller, Nebraska this time, described something similar. She was in her backyard when the first drops fell. Said they didn't soak, they rested, suspended on skin like beads of glass, and when she touched one, she stopped speaking. Dead air on the line for 22 seconds, and then, soft, shaking. I remembered being someone else. Not a dream, a memory. She remembered a name that wasn't hers in a language she didn't know. A life where she lived underwater, without fear, where the walls of her home were made of shell and the sky was always red. And then the call cut. I tried to track her. Nothing. No listing. No reverse trace. But her voice is stuck in my head. Not just the words, but the conviction. Like she wasn't scared. Like she was grieving something she hadn't known she lost. And she wasn't the only one. More reports started coming in. Clouds forming in perfect circles, fog that doesn't drift, just hovers, unmoving, like it's observing, animals migrating, in lines, not herds. Birds flying figure eights around radio towers, and always that thin rain, falling straight down. No wind, no thunder, just quiet. Measured, like the world is being rinsed, like something ancient is washing off the dust of the modern age, revealing a design underneath. I can't help but think about the humming machines. How they spin, how they breathe, how they seem to respond to signal. What if the rain is the same? Not an accident, not weather, deployment, a way to prepare the rest of the world for what's coming, to carry the frequency where wires can't reach, to transmit memory where language has failed. And what terrifies me most isn't the mechanics of it, not the logistics or the science. It's the sense that this was always meant to happen, that the boil was a beginning, not a collapse. A great unsealing, and now, inland, where no tides were supposed to touch, the land is remembering. You can hear it in the air. A low chime beneath the wind. A shimmer behind silence. The kind of sound that reminds you you've forgotten something important, something sacred, and it's finally being offered back to you. And I don't know what happens when we all remember at once, but I don't think we stay who we are. I've always thought of sound as something passing through us, harmless, temporary, a carrier for words, for mood, for memory. But now I'm starting to understand that sound isn't just how we communicate, it's how something else reaches us. Last night, I got a package. No return address, no postmark, just a box, sitting on the station steps, bone dry despite the heavy fog that settled in. Inside, a flash drive, no label, no note. I ran it on the off-grid console just to be safe. There were 4 files, black box recordings from deep-sea vessels, the kind of backup stored in pressure-proof shells, meant to outlast whatever disaster, claims the rest of the ship. These weren't surface logs. These were below depth. Most of them were static. Damage, maybe, or interference. But in every file beneath the distortion, there was something else. A low series of tones. Echoes. Like sonar, but layered. Too intentional. Like the sea was responding. The first pattern I pulled up was a pulse. 3 beats, pause, then 5 in rapid succession. I ran it through the spectrum analyzer. It translated into shape. Spirals. Perfect spirals. Then I isolated the background and found something worse. Words. Spoken too slowly for the human ear, but when compressed and stacked. Language. Ancient. Not one I recognized, but one that knew me. I don't say that lightly. These weren't just sounds, they were instructions. Faint suggestions, embedded like subliminals. One of them played back, and the overhead lights in the studio dimmed. Just a flicker. Not enough to scare you if you weren't paying attention, but they dimmed in sync with the syllables. The second file was worse. The audio played backwards, and when reversed, the waveform changed shape. Became precise. Clean. Like it had been encoded that way, waiting to be unlocked. And once it played, the static in my headset changed pitch, became harmonic. Soft. Inviting. I couldn't stop listening. I didn't want to. I sat there for nearly an hour, eyes half closed, just letting it pass through me. The sound was warm, familiar, and then, without thinking, I spoke a word I didn't know, said it out loud, without fear, without effort. The word moved in my mouth, bent the air, and the light on the recording console blinked, once, twice, and then a line of text appeared on the screen. Transmission received. Alignment in progress. I haven't touched the files since. I've locked them away, deep in the hardware, but I know they're still playing. Somewhere beneath the feed, beneath the hum of my own voice, beneath the comfort of this broadcast. Like a second signal-writing shotgun, waiting for the right listener. And that's the thing about sound. You don't need to believe it. You just need to hear it. Let it shape you. Let it teach you. One phrase, one pitch, one unspoken command at a time. I think the sea wasn't hiding these structures. I think it was quieting them. And now the silence is gone. Now we're all transmitters. And sooner or later, every voice, mine, yours, will carry the sound from below. And when the right word is said in the right place, something will wake up and understand us. You might remember the Chilean team, the one from the footage I described, walking across the dry channel floor, approaching the doorway that folded in instead of opening out, the one who vanished after crossing that impossible threshold. They've come back, not all of them, 3 out of 9, and they're not quite right. They surfaced 20 miles from where they disappeared. No footprints, no signs of distress, just standing in the salt flat basin, clothes unstained, skin pale, eyes changed. I didn't believe it at first. Not until I saw the interview. Feed, not the public one, but the internal one. The kind they didn't mean to send me. One of them, the woman who touched the doorway, is completely lucid. Too lucid. She looks into the camera and says, "It's not a door. It's a passage. It doesn't lead somewhere. It realigns you." They asked her where she went, what was inside. She smiled, not kindly, not cruelly, just patiently, and said, "You're still inside it. You just haven't turned all the way yet." Then her pulse flatlined. Not because she died, because the equipment monitoring her stopped reading her as human. Another one hasn't spoken at all. He just stands in the corner of the room, facing the wall. His lips move constantly, but there's no sound. They tried to record him. The playback is blank. Audio just doesn't take. But if you stand in the same room, you hear things. One of the techs who sat with him overnight started weeping after 3 hours. Said she remembered her own birth. Not metaphorically. She described the exact shade of light in the room. Her mother's breathing, the sound of the first clock she ever heard. She said she could feel the edge of something watching her through. Her own memory. She resigned the next day. Left no forwarding address. The third survivor won't stop drawing circular diagrams. Not symbols, machines, blueprints, things that couldn't exist but somehow feel correct. A wheel made of veins. A cathedral with no entrances, only exits. A pillar of teeth stacked like columns. Every sheet of paper pulses slightly. I swear I saw one of them breathe. They asked him what he was drawing. He said, "What the world will look like after it remembers how." And I don't think he meant people. I don't think he meant cities or nations or any of the things we cling to now. I think he meant the world itself. The terrain, the air, the rules. Like everything we think of as natural has just been running on a secondary script. And now, the primary one is booting up again. I keep thinking about the look on their faces. Not fear, not madness. Something worse. Familiarity. Like they'd found their way back to a place they'd always known, but we'd forgotten how to see. And when I looked at that woman, when she stared directly into the camera, I felt it, like she wasn't seeing me now. She was seeing what I'd look like after I passed through. after I bent, after I turned. I ended the feed, but I haven't stopped watching the window, because if the sea's memories are rising and its doors are opening, then maybe what's coming next won't need to break its way in. It will already know how to walk upright, and it will come wearing our faces. The silence is spreading. Not metaphorical silence. Not the kind you notice when a city sleeps or a power line drops. This is something else. Something intentional. It started yesterday, first with shortwave bands, entire ranges wiped clean, like someone erased them from the dial. Then regional feeds started blinking out. Emergency frequencies, government protocols, even the digital backup loops we were told could run indefinitely. Gone. No static, no interference, just vacancy. Not even white noise, which is somehow worse. It's like the infrastructure's still there. The towers, the satellites, the relays, but something else is using them now. Something that doesn't need our words, only our wires. I ran a test this morning, broadcast my voice on every open channel we had, looped across multiple time zones. I asked the same question 10 times. What's still listening? I got no answer, but I did get a return signal, not on the voice bands. On the frequency log, where the carrier signals pulse, invisible to human ears. One of them blinked in reply. Single, perfect flash. And then a message appeared on my screen. You are. That was all. 2 words, but it landed like a punch, because if I'm the one still listening, if I'm the one still transmitting, then what does that make me? The message stayed on screen for exactly 60 seconds, then wiped itself. Not deleted, erased. Can't retrieve it from cache. It's like the file was never created, like it only existed to be read once. Since then, my station board has changed. Not physically, but the interface now recognizes something new. A channel that didn't exist before. It's labeled Echo Band, and it records everything I say, even when the mic is off. I tried disabling it. I can't. Every time I speak, even off air, the board lights up, records, transmits. To where? I don't know. To what? Maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe it's to who I'm becoming. I've started hearing my own voice when I'm alone. Not in the studio, in the halls, in the parking lot, behind doors that should be locked. Not echoes, not playback, predictions, fragments of things I haven't said yet. And then, hours later, I say them, word for word. Like the signal isn't just broadcasting me, it's writing me. There's a pattern now, a shape in the quiet. When I map the frequencies of the stations that have gone dark, every last one of them forms a line. Arcing across the globe, a spiral, a slow, deliberate curl tightening toward something central. And where that spiral points, there's no station, no tower, no city, just coordinates. Right off the coast, where the ocean used to be, where the first bones surfaced, where the doorway first folded inward. And I think I understand now. We never built these networks for ourselves. We just thought we did. Radios, antennas, towers reaching toward the sky, listening for storms, for static, for stars. But maybe they were built for something beneath us. Maybe the whole system, our global obsession with signal, has just been a long process of tuning the planet like an instrument. And now the air is finally clear. No noise, no conflict, no competing voices, just mine. Speaking into the dark, and whatever is listening. It's ready to respond. I didn't sleep last night. The signal wouldn't let me. It wasn't just in the wires anymore. It was in the floor, the walls, the air. I could feel it thrumming in my teeth like a second heartbeat, and every breath I took felt just a little too measured, like I wasn't the one deciding when to exhale. And then, at 4:07 a.m., The horizon changed, not like a sunrise, like a wound opening. First, just light, pale and wrong, not golden but silver blue, sharp around the edges, like something torn had finally started to heal the wrong way. Then, structure. Mass. Rising from the basin, where the ocean used to be. Not water, not waves. Form. It came up slow, without sound. A shape that didn't ripple, didn't disturb the fog. It just was. Like it had always been there, submerged under memory. And now, finally, it had remembered how to be seen. I couldn't name it, not really. It had pieces, towers, arches, long bridges of ribbed glass and woven stone, but none of it followed the logic of construction. It wasn't built up, it was built out, like it grew into the air, like the sky itself had made space for it. The closest word I have is a city. But cities don't breathe, and this one does. You can see it when you stare long enough. The slow movement, like bellows under skin. Light, pulsing from its core. Every window is a mouth, every spire an antenna. I stepped outside the station. I don't remember walking, just standing there, barefoot, the gravel hot under my feet. And in the silence, I heard it. Not a voice. Not exactly. More like a memory of language, something buried deep, the way your body remembers how to cry before your mind knows why it's grieving. The word came without resistance. Not in my mouth, in my chest. Home. And the moment I thought, the city turned. Not physically. It didn't pivot or shift, but every part of it seemed to lean in my direction, as if I'd said the one word it had waited for, a signal to prove I was listening. And the sky behind it, where stars should have been, flickered, then darkened. Not from clouds. From depth, like something enormous was moving behind the veil of atmosphere. Like the sea had never really gone. Away, only changed sides. What's rising now isn't water. It's memory. It's intent. It's something old enough to shape a planet and patient enough to wait for the signal to finish aligning. And now it has. The broadcast system is no longer mine. I can see it, even now. The red light blinking, not to indicate recording, but translation. The mic isn't transmitting my words anymore. It's preparing yours, because I won't be here tomorrow. Not as this. I've already started forgetting things I once knew. My name. My station. ID. My mother's voice. In their place are coordinates, phrases, frequencies, shapes that feel like purpose, and maybe that's what we've always been, seeds in a shell, waiting for the salt to drain and the hum to return. Maybe all we ever were was the silence between signals. If you're still listening, hold on to this last thought. The ocean was never a prison. It was a lid, and now it's open. Not to release something, but to let us back in.